3, 2, 1.
The College of Arts and Sciences presents Thinkers, Tinkers, and Talkers.
Something like, alright, watch your levels. Watch your levels.
This podcast is a chance to get to know the faculty behind the scenes, who they are, projects they are working on, or interesting tidbits about their field of study here at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Like, does this line sound right, or does it sound weird?
This podcast is for the faculty of NSU, students, and others who may be interested in the topics we discuss. I'm your host, Fallon Lincoln, joined by our producer, Grace Jensen.
That was a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, it kind of stings. In each episode, we will share with you tips and secrets from the faculty and staff here at NSU. We invite our listeners to get to know what's going on with the College of Arts and Sciences and get to know us beyond the classroom. So what are we doing?
Podcasting!
This is Thinkers, Tinkers, and Talkers. All right. So hello, everybody, and welcome to Thinkers, Tinkers, and Talkers. I'm your host, Fallon Lincoln, and I am joined today by Dr. Francine Lemoine, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. So this first episode is going to be a little short, introductory episode to this podcast, the CREATE program as a whole, and what we plan on doing with this podcast and with the CREATE program involving the College of Arts and Sciences. So, Dr. Lemoine, hello.
Hello.
I want to start by asking you some questions about, being the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, because I imagine it's a pretty cool position to have.
That's pretty great.
So what are some of the challenges that you face as the Dean?
Well, the College of Arts and Sciences is the largest college at Northwestern State University. It's largest in terms of numbers of students, but also in terms of the varied departments and schools that are a part of the college. So we span everything from, obviously, the creative and performing arts to everything associated with the sciences and STEM fields and all the humanities in the middle. So there are about 13 different academic units that make up the College of Arts and Sciences, and those units all have very different interests, and the faculty and the students there have different expertise and things that they want to pursue and study. So part of my job as dean is not only to help ensure that our academic programs maintain their rigor and our students are receiving the education that they need, but that we are promoting the growth and development of the academic field in each one of those diverse respective areas. So with such a wide array of departments and programs, it can be difficult at times to make sure that everyone is getting the resources and support that they need to ensure that they're actually able to do the creative research or work that they need to do.
I can imagine that that's a handful having all of those different departments, because I'm not in the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm actually part of Glassby. So, that's just pretty much education and, psychology. And they got it made over there. It's there's not a lot that they have to deal with. And I imagine it's got to be so difficult to, deal with Kappa and then also, math. Totally opposite, different things. Not opposite per se, but just very different in terms of what they're doing, what their goals are.
Absolutely.
The content in general is just totally unrelated, and
it is, and it's a different approach to educating students on those topics. So it is a difficult part of the job, but it's also the part of the job that's the most fun and rewarding.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be fun because you get to know a little about everything. And those are the types of people that are the most, engaging to speak to, I feel like. Because, I know a lot of people who try to say that they know a little about everything so they can talk to anyone. Mm-hmm. And I want to try to be like that, but I'm really, really bad at math, and I could never. But, yeah. Okay. So what are some exciting developments within the college that you have been taking care of or getting throughout the last year or two?
So I started this job in the fall of 2019, and this was just before COVID hit and sort of changed our world, definitely the landscape of higher education for sure. And one of the things that I noticed at that time, or shortly after the shutdown, when faculty started thinking about how they were going to return to campus and teach, I began having conversations with people, with faculty members, about some of the challenges that they were going to face. And one of the faculty members who came to speak to me was Dr. Masahito Kuroda, who is a brass instructor in the music department. And he told me about some of the challenges that he was going to face in teaching brass instruments to students, where, in some other what we might consider more traditional classrooms, or as you mentioned, math or English or even science, in those classroom spaces, we could just have the students mask up, sit apart, and not have to necessarily worry as much. But in other areas, like in music, as Dr. Kuroda was telling me all about some of the activities that he would have his students do, there was more concern, right? Imagine blowing into an instrument and, the spit pattern, that would come out of that. And so whereas many universities across the United States were actually just canceling those classes for the semester, Dr. Kuroda was interested in continuing to offer those classes, because canceling those classes would mean unnecessarily delaying those students who need those classes to graduate, right? We're forcing those students to sort of extend their time in undergrad. And that's not what we're about here, right? And so he told me what some of his concerns were, and was interested in trying a few different things to see if there was a way he could continue to offer the class, being very creative about his process. And so I connected him with some faculty members, some of our physics instructors at the university, who were at the time in the School of Biological and Physical Sciences. And together they worked out a system to test different types of PPE, personal protective equipment, that the students could use while they were taking those classes. It protected them, it protected the other students in the class, and it protected the faculty like Dr. Kuroda. And so, from that conversation, right, where he actually had the wherewithal to come and talk to me about what his concerns were, and to ask who might be able to help him. And then my knowledge, because I'm the former director of the School of Biological and Physical Sciences, I was able to help connect two people from very disparate areas, come together and work on a project for the good of the students, the faculty, and the university. And so there have been a couple of other instances like that, where faculty members have come to me and said, I want to work on this project, or I'm interested in pursuing this research, but I kind of have this hole in resources or in, thought or idea in a particular area. Do you know anyone who might be able to help me? And so from that, those conversations, I began to realize that we really have this deficiency in ways to connect faculty members in different academic units. We have faculty meetings, we have all sorts of opportunity for faculty in different areas in one particular academic unit or field to interact with each other, but very little opportunity to professionally interact with people or faculty members from other units. And so because the College of Arts and Sciences is very diverse and broad, I thought we would have a great opportunity to engage faculty members from different areas together and maybe come up with some really interesting and ingenious projects and research and scholarly activity.
Awesome. Yeah. And so with those developments and those ideas all coming to fruition, I imagine that's how the CREATE program came to exist. So why don't you tell me a little more about that?
Right. So with this idea, I kept thinking, this the system that we had only worked when a faculty member was sort of brave enough to come and talk to me and ask me if I knew anybody who could help them, right? And so my ability to connect the almost 200 faculty members in the College of Arts and Sciences was limited. I had to know what other people, all these people were working on, and then be able to draw those connections to establish those potential collaborations. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had some sort of collaboration incubator where faculty could provide to some sort of database, a system that would allow us to kind of catalog what their interest in different areas and their resources were, so that we could match them potential collaborators more easily. And so that's how we established CREATE. So CREATE stands for the Center for Research, Education, and Artistic Teamwork Exploration. So it's a mouthful, right? So CREATE is a lot catchier. And it really encompasses what we actually want to have happen with this program. We want people to be able to interact with each other and create something that's new, novel, and exciting, not just for our faculty, but then that bleeds down into our students and our community as well. So it really is, I like to think of it as Match.com, but for faculty collaboration. So I have a team of collaborating facilitators who help me manage that. So it's Professor Anna Dugas, who's a professor of physics in the Department of Physical Sciences, and Miss Una Zipkowskis, who is an instructor of English in the Department of English Languages and Cultural Studies. And so together they've helped me develop this sort of database that we're kind of managing and soliciting faculty to become a part of the database so that we can help use that information to connect them with other faculty members in different projects.
That's awesome. Like I feel like if I were, because I'm going into education, of course, and if I were to be like a professor here, I think that would be such a fun thing, because I know I'm not super well versed on everything. Like I know about theater because I did theater in high school, but then like the other things like biology, science, just in general, and math and all those things, I just know English. That's about it. And like I know like places where a lot of those things overlapped, and like if you're not super educated on that, finding people who are would be so beneficial. Like I think that's really, really cool. And I think that like a lot of schools should develop that kind of partnership with the rest of their faculty, like fellow faculty members. Like I feel like they should develop that, like in like high schools, even like just within all of the separate departments, because I know at like Natchitoches Central, all of the different subjects, they sort of have their own like halls, and so like the English teachers don't really interact with the social studies teachers that much, and I feel like having collaborative moments would really like help, especially like for like disciplinary stuff within a high school setting. But like research I know is more heavy in college settings, and like teachers, the professors generally have to be doing research as part of their job additionally to teaching,
Right,
I think that's
absolutely.
really awesome.
So everybody says that they want to collaborate, right? And I think deep down most people actually do. But the hard part is, who do you team up with? Finding those partners. And so what we're trying to do with the CREATE program is generate an avenue where it's easy to find those partners.
Yeah.
And I think that, while yes, every university, every high school, every business for that matter should have something similar, we have a pretty special place here at Northwestern State, and we have faculty who are very engaged, and I think their interest in wanting to pursue their own research or artistic or scholarly activity is an important drive for them. But all of it comes down to us for education, right? Not only our education, but how can we expand our education capabilities for our students as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the almost all of the faculty that I've met here have been so awesome and care so much and are so passionate about their jobs, and that's really refreshing to see, because I know a lot of people talk about their college professor clearly does not want to be here, and I haven't really experienced that, and I think that's awesome, especially with a lot of my classes within this department, because I am an English ed major, so I take a lot of English classes, and every English teacher that I've had here, every English professor has been awesome, and they really care. They're really passionate about what they're teaching, and they're so well versed on it. Like, you can ask a totally random question that's not within the curriculum that we're talking about, within the class, but they'll be like, oh, well, this is just some random stuff that I know because I'm super well versed on this topic. And I like that we have such specific topics here too. You can find, I know even within music, there's one organ player here at NSU, but he gets what he needs from this school, Micah Dugas. Shout out if you're listening. I'm friends with him, but I know he's the only organ player here, but he gets what he needs, so I think that it's great that we have an avenue for everyone who needs one, and we have people here who are so well versed and educated and willing to share that with fellow faculty, with their students, with everyone here. I think it's so cool. I think it's so cool.
Well, that's certainly part of our reason for wanting to establish the CREATE program. And so as we launched this program at the beginning of last semester, we had what we called sort of a pitch party where we invited faculty members from the College of Arts and Sciences who wanted to participate in the CREATE program and asked them to pitch their ideas. And so it was, the faculty could just sort of throw out an idea that they wanted to work on, and then we could try to connect them with different collaborators. And from that pitch party, the steering committee for the CREATE program and I helped to narrow down that list, and we came up with 3 particular pitches, projects, programs, however you want to call it, that we wanted to support during this academic year. Mm-hmm. And one of those pitches, one of those ideas, was the development of a podcast that would allow, right? See where I'm going with it? A podcast that would allow us to really highlight some of the amazing things that are happening in the College of Arts and Sciences. Because while CREATE's purpose is to make the process of creation easier, it's really the products that we're excited about, right? And so, so the creation of this podcast is really a special sort of intro into the products that come out of the CREATE program. So I'm really excited to see it happening now.
Yeah, before we get into discussing the podcast more specifically, if you're willing to share the other projects, a little bit about them, and what we may be expecting from those kinds of things perhaps in the future.
Absolutely. So as I said, we have 3 projects that we're sponsoring this academic year. One of those is the podcast. The other project is the development of a specific physical science class for music and theater, Kappa majors. So right now, all students on campus have to take a physical science course, whether that's a major-specific class or one that's for general students. The class that we offer here is that most non-science majors take is called Science 1010. Most students do everything they can to avoid that class, as you probably did, Fallon.
I took it first semester. It was not, I know it's supposed to be a physical science class, but the professor that I had was teaching us environmental instead. Mm-hmm. And I had already taken environmental, and I was like, this is going to be a breeze. So, you know what? I passed it, but I don't think I got what I was supposed to get out of it.
Well, the purpose, I think, of these sort of general education classes is to understand that those things, like physical science, really reach into lots of different areas. So there is environmental science and physical science, and there is sound and lighting and all of these other things that maybe our creative and performing arts majors might be more interested in understanding. So instead of talking about how sun passing through a raindrop can lead to the creation of a rainbow, we can talk about it in terms of using different filters to light a stage. Or we can talk about it in terms of the different shapes of instruments and how that impacts sound waves. So we have a group of faculty members who are working on designing a new Science 1010 course that would be a specific section of the Science 1010 course that would be specifically offered to creative and performing arts majors, even though it would be open to any students, that would deal with particular examples of the same concepts that other students would be learning in Science 1010, but those examples would be geared toward the creative and performing arts.
That's really cool. Like I can't even comprehend how cool that is. Because I like the thought of different shapes of instruments making different sounds. It's just not something that I think about. And so learning about that would be awesome. Like really, 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 really cool. And I think that would be I like that it's more major specific, like that'll be much more beneficial to them than just like a general physical science, because I know a lot of us got basics in high school, you know,
Right.
and so they should remember those things but then be able to apply it specifically to their field. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a combination of physics instructors, music instructors, some math instructors, as well as theater and dance as well. So all of those things lumped together, and we're going to create a class that hopefully will be very interesting and engaging so that students don't know that they're learning.
That's really cool.
So that's the second project. The third project that we're working on is really maybe a little bit outside of the realm of what we would necessarily consider to be traditional College of Arts and Science issue. But we had a couple of faculty members who pointed out that they were a little disappointed in the current status of our virtual campus map. So we have an interactive campus map that can be found from the main NSU page. And it's basically just sort of a snapshot picture, like a drone image of campus. And on that image, you can click on different buildings on campus and you can see that building's name and in some cases, some information about it. The street names aren't very well identified. And when you zoom in on the map, if you're not zooming in a place where the street name is, it disappears. So, our parking lots aren't very well labeled. And so that creates some problems, especially when we're trying to get different people on campus and when students are trying to find their way around campus, and that's what we're asking them to use. So we have a group of faculty who are interested in helping to make our campus map a little more informative and user-friendly. And so we're doing things like making sure that all the information about the buildings and parking lots and structures on campus is updated, that it's specifically linked to the physical address so that you can pop that information out into Google Maps or Waze or whatever system you want to use and be able to do directions easily. We're doing a specific layer that allows us to link parking lots to buildings. So if you're bringing someone in and they want to drive and come to Kaiser Hall, what parking lot should they use to do that? We can also overlay where the ADA parking spaces are on campus, as well as ADA restrooms. We can do any sorts of things like non-gender specific restrooms on campus, entrances and exits to buildings or parking lots. All of those things that we can do are pretty basic, but when we dive into it deeper, we can put more specific things in buildings. So you could click on a building and we can link the blueprints or floor plans to those buildings. lots of times we find students are, they're sort of anxious about where their classrooms are on the first day of class, and being able to pull up and say, okay, this is the floor plan for the 4th floor of Kaiser. I know my classroom is in this spot in that building. So we're pretty excited about being able to do all that, including just maybe some short kind of virtual tours. We can even embed videos for some of our performance spaces and that sort of thing. And so we're anxious to get started on that project as well.
I like that because I know for a lot of people trying to navigate that map is difficult and it's confusing, and sometimes it just doesn't want to do what you want it to do. And yeah, I and that's a very like non-program specific thing. Like that's not beneficial to a class, but it's beneficial to the university as a whole.
Right.
And I mean, I think that that's cool to focus on too. Like it's not just within this college, but also within the whole university. What can we do for everyone? And
right. From a recruiting standpoint, it's important. We bring lots of students onto campus, and we want them to be able to go to that and have a good experience with it.
More likely to come and join our programs.
Right. And like I said, we can embed videos, for our performance spaces. So students who are interested in music or theater can watch clips of some events that we've had, some performances that we've had in some of those spaces. And, we have a lot of wonderful facilities here. And so we want to make sure that we have a platform we can highlight those.
Yeah. Awesome. And so that leads us to this podcast that we're recording right now. Crazy.
Yeah.
So, what are the goals for this podcast, Thinkers, Tinkers, and Talkers? And where do we see this podcast going? What does this podcast hold? What are we doing with it from your perspective?
Right. So one of the things that came out in our pitch party was that some faculty were interested in just educating people, not just students, but the people in our university community and our physical community and beyond, in some of the things that they found most interesting about their particular areas of interest. Maybe some things that are a little bit beyond what they teach in a classroom, so it doesn't fit into a specific topic that they teach in a particular class, but something that they find interesting and want to just share that with someone. And so that idea kind of expanded. So in our pitch party, there was a lot of excitement where, people wanted to talk about, maybe women in science or the history of mathematics or, what's happening in these different times in history that impacted the art that was produced or the science that was produced at particular times. And so everybody got really excited about the concept of how then do we share those ideas, those concepts, those thoughts with people. And so because, we have this wonderful podcast facility here on campus, and that's becoming a really interesting thing for a lot of people now to subscribe and listen to podcasts, we thought, let's jump on this and make a podcast that highlights some of the wonderful things that our faculty are doing or interested in, and can share that with our students, with each other, and with our community. And so from that, Thinkers, Tinkers, and Talkers evolved.
Yes. Awesome. So, I know that what we're doing with this podcast is a lot of faculty coming and talking about things that they're interested in that aren't necessarily part of what they talk about within their courses. And so I'd like to talk about some of the ideas that we have for our future episodes, and what we'll be talking about in those.
Sure. So I don't want to give too much away in terms of what's going to be discussed in future episodes, but I know that our February episode, where in the month of February, where we like to celebrate and highlight Black History Month. So we're going to have Dr. Jasmine Weiss, who is Assistant Professor of Sociology in the School of Social Sciences and Applied Programs, is going to be talking about Black pop culture. And so that's a part of her research and her area of interest. And she's actually in the process right now of planning a new class that will highlight and focus on pop culture. And so we thought this was a great chance for her to kind of get the idea out there and hopefully garner some student and community interest in that topic. So that's going to be our February episode. In March, when we have Pi Day, so March 14th, Pi Day, we're going to have a specific math episode where Dr. Frank Serio, who's professor of mathematics and former department chair in that program, is going to talk to us a little bit about the history of mathematics and how history sort of shaped and molded mathematics and maybe how mathematics molded and shaped history as well. And so he's a wonderful orator, and I know that's going to be a really exciting episode as well. And then after that, in April, we have World Engineering Day, and so we're going to have a specific episode that is going to focus on women in engineering and science and talk about the specific contributions that women have been able to make in that field. And so hopefully that can inspire different people to take a chance and try a field that they might think that they don't have an aptitude for, but they can potentially be inspired to do great things in that.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm really excited for all of them. I know I'm really excited for the Black pop culture one because I'm Black, and I know I have a lot of experience in that field specifically because I grew up raised by my Black mama, and so I'm really excited to talk to her about those things because it's I don't know, it's not something that I think about that often, how specifically Black pop culture influences people in general in the world, and then I feel like math is going to be really exciting because I am really bad at math. I don't know anything about math. The concepts just don't always track for me, but I think getting to know the history behind it is something that's more interesting to me because I love history. I love learning things. I love fun facts about random things, and also women in STEM, absolutely. I know there's the whole joke about women in STEM, but we need more women in STEM, and the women who are in STEM need their voices raised and have people feel empowered. And it's just all really exciting. I'm really excited to get to talk to everybody because these are a lot of people I haven't really met these people before, and because I'm not in the higher levels of a lot of these classes. Most of the classes in the College of Arts and Sciences were classes that were my base level classes, and except for the English department, because I know we're considering having Dr. Majeski on to discuss poetry and stuff later. And I'm well acquainted with her, but everybody else, I don't really know everyone. And so this is my first time meeting you in person, I think. And so getting to know everybody is going to be really awesome and really cool. And I feel like this is going to be a really cool opportunity for everyone else who is outside of this program as well to be able to get to know the College of Arts and Sciences and some of our staff and see that everybody out here is really cool.
Absolutely.
And branching out of our little holes, because I know a lot of people within their departments, they I know a lot of the Kappa kids, they live in Kappa, they eat, sleep, and breathe in Kappa, and I live on the 3rd floor of Kaiser and in the TEC because I have English classes and I have education classes, but getting to know and hear and talk to people outside of our programs, I think it's going to be a really awesome opportunity to have.
Right. And we hope that all of our listeners embrace that concept and enjoy the program.
Yes. Awesome. So it was really awesome talking to you and getting our little base level laid down for listeners so they know what they're expecting, what's coming, the history behind it all. And yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come.
Yeah. Thanks, Fallon. I'm going to leave it in your capable hands.
Yes, awesome. I'm very excited to have this opportunity. So, yay. Awesome. So, this has been Thinkers, Tinkers, and Talkers, our first mini episode. Our first big full-length episode will be out in February. We're shooting for the 20th, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, so come listen next time to talk about Black pop culture with Dr. Jasmine Weiss. And yeah, thank you for listening. Bye!